Across the Gambia and around the world, this is Atlantic TV News. Our top stories this hour. The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, says no journalist or activist jailed in the Gambia since 2017. NPP denies Barrow picked Jah as the President threatens to sue the Voice newspaper over Jah succession story. Families of Bakau boat victims speak to Standard newspaper. And 2 unauthorized medicine sellers sentenced to 1 year mandatory jail term and fined $250,000 each. Away from home, South Sudan taking steps to transition as country moves towards digital payments. Egypt delivers second arms shipment to Somalia. This and much more coming ahead with me, Alagie Mbye. Many thanks for joining us. Now, the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, has told the United Nations General Assembly that since he took over in 2017, no journalist or rights activist has been sent to prison and neither there is any political prisoner. Speaking on Thursday at the 79th session about the value of upholding human rights, the President said, "I am happy to report that since 2017, the Gambia has neither recorded a single political prisoner, nor has any journalist or human rights activist been jailed." Proudly too, in August 2024, the Gambia was recognized as one of Africa's leading defenders of freedom of expression and ranked 3rd in Article 19's Global Expression Report 2024. "We will continue striving to better our situation," he said. He said the Gambia is committed to promoting human rights, adding that the establishment of the National Human Rights Commission with an impartial judiciary gives citizens mechanisms to seek justice. As committed advocates of peace and security, respect for basic rights and freedom, and the application of international laws, we stand firmly against injustice no matter where it occurs. No doubt, as a nation of peace guided by democratic principles, we have learned valuable lessons to act upon and share. With the help of the international community, we are steadily taking steps to bring closer to the saga of the victims of dictatorship in our country. So far, we have successfully managed the transitional justice and reform processes. Moving forward, we count on your support in the next critical stages of ensuring justice, reconciliation, and reparations where necessary. The Gambia will continue advocating preventive approaches to peace building in advert future conflicts, he said. Now, still on the presidency, President Adama Barrow has demanded a retraction and apology from the Voice newspaper over a story it published recently, quoting its sources that the president has picked business tycoon Mohamed Jah as his successor. The story attracted a swift reaction from the National People's Party, with its administrative secretary, Sidi Cisse, describing it as false. Meanwhile, a letter addressed to the newspaper from the president's lawyer, Ada Drame and Associates, described the story as libelous and therefore demanded a retraction, threatening a legal action if it fails to do so. The letter states, in part, "These claims are completely outrageous and untrue. The natural and ordinary meaning of these words and of the placing of the photograph immediately under the said words, which are highly defamatory of our client, is that A. Our client is no longer interested in being president of the Gambia, B. That he does not intend to be flag bearer of the NPP in the 2026 elections, C. That his party, NPP, cannot rely on what he tells them, D. That he is not a man of his words and cannot be trusted, E. That he has chosen Mohamed Jah as his successor, and F. He has handed over keys to his position to him, G. There was a ceremony where this handing over took place, and H. That NPP are unhappy with his decision. Every such imputation is entirely false. In particular, at no time did our client ever have any such conversations or choose Mohamed Jah as his successor. He did not also at any time indicate that he is no longer interested in being president of the Gambia. Unsurprisingly, our client's reputation has been substantially harmed by the publication of such defamatory allegations, the nature of which are deeply distressing and embarrassing for him. As a consequence, our client requires you to take the following steps as a matter of urgency and within 24 hours of the date of this letter. 1. To publish in the next issue of your newspaper a full and complete retraction and apology in terms to be approved by us on our client's behalf on the front page of the newspaper in a position similar to that occupied by the article complained of. 2. To make full retraction and apology in a statement in open court. 3. To indemnify our client in respect of the cost which he has or will have in court in this matter. 4. To pay to our client damages for the injury of his reputation and for the embarrassment and distress caused to him. If the defamatory article is not permanently removed and the above undertakings are not complied with within the next 24 hours of the date of this letter, we will take the necessary steps to institute proceedings without any further correspondence. Should it become necessary to institute legal actions, our client will also be claiming from you all legal fees involved in bringing this liable action and any other cost that might be incurred in this regard. Meanwhile, police have confirmed the arrest and charge of Momodou Dabo, the journalist who published that particular report. A statement shared by the police PRO confirmed that the police on Thursday, September 26, 2024, arrested Musa Sharif and Momodou Dabo of the Voice newspaper. While Musa Sharif was released on bail, Momodou Dabo was charged with false publication and broadcasting contrary to the laws of the Gambia. The statement says the charges stemmed from an article published by Dabo which allegedly contains misleading information intended to cause public alarm. According to the statement, the Gambia Police Force assures the public that freedom of the press is respected but emphasizes the importance of responsible journalism in maintaining public order. Now, moving on. Grief-stricken Bakau family members of the victims of the tragic migrant boat are still reeling from the disaster that claimed over a dozen lives from the town alone. The Bagway travelers are said to have died on a boat found drifting in the waters in Dhaka a few days ago. The Standard newspaper went into the town recently to hear grim stories from families about the shocking loss of lives in the same community. One of them is Ami Jaju, better known as Alagie Mbye, a 36-year-old hotel worker who is survived by two children, one of them aged 18. Ami's siblings, Mama and Buba, said she left town on 10th August 2024 to Senegal, where she boarded the boat at Mbour on 12th August 2024 at midnight. I knew this because I spoke to her the day before she left. That was the last time I heard from her, Buba said. He said they could not understand how a boat that left over a month ago still be found within Senegalese waters, adding that there was no report that it sank. Another compound hit by the tragedy was Jaite-Kunda in Kachikali, where the head of the family, Sambu Jaite, confirmed that 4 members of his family have perished in the tragedy. Among them is his son's wife, Tida Jaite, his wife's adopted daughter, Binta Mane, and his grandsons, Fabrama Gassama and Lamin Jaite. The old man said Fabrama was very knowledgeable in both English and Arabic and have completed both college and university, and is unmarried. That is very sad to take, he said. I have nothing to tell the government. I leave everything in the hands of God, but I want to advise children to listen to their parents and avoid this journey. A lot of people have perished in it, but I know it is the high ambitions of the young people to stand for their families, Sambu said. Mam Njai, another parent, said he believes his daughter Sohna also died in the tragedy. According to Ngor, Sohna was only 19 years and had only completed school last year. He said he was not aware of the daughter's intentions to leave. Njai, who wept as he remembered her daughter advised the government to find ways to tackle back way by addressing the pull factors that attract young lives to travel to Europe by any means. 6 other people from the same compound are believed to have died. They are Ibrahima Kebe, Saja Lee, Manisor Kone, Malian, Adama Sangare, Sekou Kamara, and Mohamed Sise. Musu Jaite, an old woman, also told the Standard newspaper that her grandson and daughter Binta Conte and Balamin Conte have also perished in the tragedy. Binta was 23 and Balamin 25. Another woman also confirmed to the Standard that her son Moro Chor and grandson Musa Sen have also died. Moro was a plumber who graduated from GTTI. He was in his early 30s while Musa 18. The core from Bakau Mane Kunda also lost her daughter Adama Kamara. Adama was 25 years old and she left behind her twin sister. They said when they did not know of Adama's whereabouts, they contacted the boat owner who confirmed Adama's name was in the list. Since then, they did not hear anything about her until now. Babukar Jallo also lost his nephew Alagie Mbye, who was in his early 20s. Bajinka was a technician and his uncle said he made a previous unsuccessful attempt to embark on the irregular migration journey. Jallo blamed the government for the rising trend of the journey, saying he has never heard any official address the public about their plans to stop this tragedy. They have failed to create jobs for the young people, he charged. Mariato Trawale, a mother, also lost her son Salifu Kiabu, a 13-year-old. She said her son was a good footballer who will always tell her his ambition was to play football and take her to pilgrimage in Mecca. Binta Jadama, another affected mother, said she lost her son Omar Jaite, known as Khalifa. Omar survived by a wife and 9 children. By the time he was leaving, his youngest daughter was 6 months old. Omar was a fisherman and his widow Maria Mbye called on the government to ensure more jobs are created and regular means of migration are enhanced. The Standard contacted the Immigration Department, but an official said they were not aware of the incident and promised to engage and get back to the paper. Now, moving on to some legal matters now. Usman Jai and Musa Sibi pleaded guilty for illegally selling medicines without licensing and in an unauthorized premises on Monday, 23rd September 2024 at the Kanifing Magistrates Court before presiding Magistrate T. Toure. When the case resumed on Thursday, 26 September 2024, Prosecutor Noah Bojang presented a video and written judgment as evidence that the convicts were repeated offenders and were convicted of the same crime before. The representative of the convicts, Counsel Edu Gomez, however, objected to the evidence, describing it as irrelevant to the matter. Prosecutor Bojang, however, insisted that the evidence were relevant to discharge the burden of proof that they were previously convicted. The presiding magistrate then told the prosecution that it was premature to bring the evidence since he had closed his case and urged the prosecutors to wait until after conviction as the court disregards the evidence at this time. Now, delivering his judgment, presiding magistrate T. Toure of the Kanifing Magistrates Court quoted the relevant sections of the Medicines and Related Product Act 2024 that prohibits the unauthorized selling of medicines and operations of unauthorized premises. He, however, added that upon plea of guilty without wasting the court's time, the duo are found guilty and convicted as charged. At this juncture, Prosecutor Noah Bojang informed the court that they were also previously convicted of the same crime by then Howaship Jane, then at the Kanifing Magistrates Court, and presented a copy of that very judgment as evidence. In his plea, the representative of the convicts, Edu Gomez, admitted that the offense committed by his clients is serious and risky to the health of the public. The malpractice, he added, is prevalent and found everywhere, citing the notorious cough syrup case which caused the AKI outbreak that was brought in the country from India by what he described as unscrupulous surrogates, leading to the case that gained universal recognition. The practice is not unique and it is a massive global enterprise involving millions of dollars and the two convicts are little actors at the tail end of the spectrum, he explained. It will be dishonest and inappropriate to try to make this court into believing that this is a small issue. The MCA and such institutions everywhere are doing a marvelous job in curbing the malpractice for the interest of the public, Counsel Gomez asserted. The convicted persons are little players in the whole spectrum, and it's unfortunate they have been convicted of the malpractice before. However, I would like this particular case not to be viewed as a deliberate attitude, but instead the making of difficult living conditions and economic malaise in the country, he affirmed. This in itself is not an excuse, but appealed for it to be considered, saying they have tremendous responsibilities and appeal for their dignity and responsibility, particularly accepting without denials needed to be considered. The senior counsel cited the religious values of forgiving as well as the possibility of anyone committing a crime from the top to the lowest fabric of society that leaves the convicts as non-exceptions. When meting a punishment, your worship, he appealed, I hope and appeal you to consider a fine and not a jail term, as their families will suffer the burden of their absence. I therefore appeal that you have mercy and not allow the full force of the law to fall in a draconian manner. Rule according to law, but also fervently take into account the principles of mercy, Counsel Gomez concluded. The presiding magistrate then made his sentencing by first quoting the violated sections of the Medicines and Related Product Act 2014 and their corresponding punishments, which are set as 5 years imprisonment or $500,000 fine or both. The court, therefore, having listened to your plea of litigation and considered the various factors as well as the need to protect society of illegal medicines, the convicts are therefore sentenced to 1 year mandatory jail term and a fine of $250,000 each, in default to serve 2 years in prison. Since they have been doing it for 7 years, the presiding magistrate added, the seized medicines are also forfeited to the state. The magistrate also ordered the MCA to quickly close the shop at the convicted person's place if the medicines are still there. Finally, Magistrate Toure reminded all parties that they reserve the rights to appeal. Now, Omar Julde Jallo, a Guinean national, recently appeared before Principal Magistrate Mohamed Kourbali of the Banjul Magistrates Court for illegally obtaining $4,519,800 from Sheikh Omar Ba and Omar Jallo on false pretense. Prosecutors alleged that the accused in November 2022 in Banjul obtained the sum from Sheikh Omar Ba and Omar Jallo on the pretext that he will supply them with 207,000 gallons of cooking oil, which representation was false. The accused denied the charges. The prosecuting officer, Commissioner Sane, did not object to the accused's bail application, which was granted in the sum of $4 million. The case was adjourned to 7th October 2024. This is Atlantic TV News with me, Alagie Mbye. We'll be right back after this break.
Atlantic Media Company. Follow us on Facebook at Atlantic TV The Gambia, on YouTube at Atlantic TV Gambia, on TikTok Atlantic.tv.gambia. Follow our music platform on Facebook at Atlantic TV Music Platform Entertainment.
Welcome back. In the internationals, South Sudan's central bank wants the public to adopt electronic payment platforms such as mobile money and credit or debit cards. The goal is to encourage larger transactions to go through banks, reducing opportunities for corruption by allowing authorities to better monitor money flow. Details in this CGTN report.
Sudan Central Bank says the maximum cash withdrawal by public institutions or government agencies, corporations and individuals is now 10 million South Sudan pounds. That's equivalent to about $2,500. The bank says the move is to encourage transactions that require larger amount of money to be done through banks. The idea is also to cut out loopholes that promote corruption, allowing authorities to monitor the flow of money.
We are encouraging the general public to embrace electronic payment platforms, including, for example, mobile money, and access or use of credit and debit card, which incur low charges on transactions.
The governor has also urged commercial banks to make account opening seamless, but the only World Bank report on banking in South Sudan, which was released in 2020, shows that less than 10% of the population have access to formal financial services and that cash is the most predominant type of payment. There are now calls for South Sudan's Apex Bank to impose a deadline on when transactions by cash should stop.
The utility entities in the country who collect so much money, cash, they don't deposit this money to the banks. They go and buy dollars. This is the reality. It is still an informal economy. How are we going to change this?
South Sudan's government insists that the transition to a digital economy is one of the many steps it is taking to try and revive the economy.
The government is determined to continue strengthening our currency, stabilize market, and foster a conducive environment for economic growth. And this momentum will be maintained to overcome the prevailing challenges and achieve prosperity.
The government is now encouraging civil servants to accept their salaries electronically. Meanwhile, government employees have been protesting the government's inability to settle salary arrears as authorities struggle with a dip in oil production. The country imports most of its basic commodities, a situation created by civil war before and after independence in 2011. The violence slowed investment in crucial sectors of the economy. Mobile phone penetration, which could aid access to mobile money, is also low at just 22%, or 2.3 million people out of the country's estimated 13 million people. Patrick Koyet, CGTN, Juba, South Sudan.
Egypt said the shipment of weapons to Somalia are meant to help Somalia achieve security, combat terrorism, and maintain its territorial sovereignty and unity. The details about the contents were not officially announced, but unofficial reports indicate the shipments includes heavy artillery and air defense and counter-aircraft weapons. Details in this CGTN report.
Egypt sent another military aid package to Somalia this week. The details about the contents were not officially announced, but unofficial reports indicate that it includes heavy artillery and air defense and anti-aircraft weapons. Cairo says the arms shipments are meant to empower Mogadishu's capabilities to achieve security, combat terrorism, and maintain its territorial sovereignty and unity.
Egypt rejected the agreement between Ethiopia and Somaliland. It believes supporting Somaliland is an attempt to destabilize the Horn of Africa. Egypt's efforts are dedicated to strengthening the Somali armed forces. Some of the arms will help it fight the Al-Shabaab terrorist group. Others are dedicated to territorial defense. This aims to support Somalia's security transition as the ATMI's forces mission ends in 2025.
It is the second military shipment to Somalia in less than a month. In August, the two countries signed a military cooperation agreement that included an additional 2 arms shipments to Somalia. Egypt says it is committed to supporting the Somali government until the nation's security is achieved so it can push its development forward. The North African country had earlier called its citizens to evacuate the Somaliland region, citing security threats, after the region's chief criticized Egypt's role in supporting the Somali government. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
That report there brings us to the end of the news. But before we go, a recap of the headlines once again. The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, has said that no journalist or rights activist has been jailed in the Gambia since 2017. The NPP has denied Barrow picked Jah as the President threatened to sue the Voice newspaper over Jah's succession story. Families of Bakau boat victims had been speaking to the Standard newspaper, and 2 unauthorized medicine sellers have been sentenced to 1-year mandatory jail term and fined $250,000 each. Away from home, South Sudan had taken steps to transition as the country moves towards digital payments. And Egypt had delivered second arms shipments to Somalia. That does it for this hour. Many thanks for watching and enjoy the range of our interesting programs. From me and the entire news team, thank you for the pleasure of your company.
Atlantic Media Company. Follow us on Facebook at Atlantic TV The Gambia, on YouTube at Atlantic TV Gambia, on TikTok atlantic.tv.gambia. Follow our music platform on Facebook at Atlantic TV Music Platform Entertainment.